It is becoming increasingly obvious that the men's fashion industry has an agenda. Not men, but the industry. The speed and over-reliance on style permission has created a clear divide, and it's all happening on the backs of celebrities. How so? Allow me to explain. I'm Reggie Casual, and this is The State. All right, so let's begin here. The late Virgil Abloh, whether you followed his work, enjoyed his work, or weren't so keen on it, was perhaps the biggest arbiter for change in men's fashion. Virgil Abloh, with his very first runway at LV, gave men's fashion a window into the silhouette that would dominate for the next few years. And yes, we all recognize it and had seen it before. Yeah, it was done by like Boris, Hedmaner, Yoji, just to name a few. But due to Virgil's at the time high-profile name and coupled with the biggest stage in fashion at LV, gave men in general permission to move forward. However, Virgil was unique. He crossed both the celebrity and designer line more deftly than his peers in many ways, because he understood how adoption worked in men's fashion. It is ostensibly predicated on tapping into the current cultural zeitgeist whilst finding a way to slightly alter it to remain familiar and forward at the same time. This slow adoption, we'll call it, allowed men to be more discerning and appreciate the newly introduced. They had time to make the style their own, study it, and work with it, make it more personal, so to speak. But since his passing, men's fashion has been moving at breakneck speeds, leading to honestly bad takes and more performative styles than consistency. But due to these so-called performative styles, I believe the industry got the wrong message and have been flailing ever since, cashing all their chips on showcase styles that are only suitable for TikTok influencers and celebs whose sole purpose is to generate views. So instead of incremental additive progress, hyper adoption crippled movements that otherwise could have blossomed more beautifully had they had time to develop. Just look at this timetable. We had an era of high-end street with the likes of Off-White and Palm Angels and all that good stuff, to the rise of Gucci prominence, a Balenciaga explosion, loungewear dominated by fear of God, this whole straight to bell-bottoms pants nonsense that everyone's doing. I mean, I'm not hating on the silhouette, no. I'm just pointing out that it's effing everywhere and it's a drag. It's getting kind of boring. We've had high-profile names like Matthew M. Williams leading Givenchy and then leaving Givenchy, Dior Jordans, platform boots, more collabs than absolutely necessary, and who could forget? Crocs. And none of it was long-lasting. None of it, or it won't be. This was largely due to the fact that the industry, after seeing the success of Virgil Abloh, attempted to copy-paste the methodology and has led to some very mixed results. New age style icons like Jared Leto, Timothée Chalamet, A$AP Rocky, Harry Styles, and among others led the way with these eccentric takes, and industry rewarded and praised them to the point where if you were a dude and you weren't as forward as these chaps, you were on the fringe. And this led to an era of bombastic showcase-heavy styles that have since dominated men's fashion. And what's more, men's designers had to either be famous or were made famous, which is nuts. I mean, look at the likes of Denma, Kim, Eddie Slimane, Raf Simons, Rick Owens, Pharrell Williams, Nigo, Matthew M. Williams, Jerry Lorenzo. If you follow fashion even just slightly and you're a dude, you know at least one of those individuals. And for the last few years, in terms of men's designer fashion, it has been dominated by these kind of names. And while more independent brands from content creators and independent artists have become more viable, many of them take cues from these same designers or what their favorite rappers are currently wearing in the current cultural landscape. But sometimes indeed, those who engage with men's fashion get a wake-up call. Pharrell's latest men's LV collection debuting at Paris Fashion Week, by all accounts invoking the cowboy aesthetic mixed with the classic LV tailoring, was ambitious, different, but a retread, and ultimately was so incredibly divisive that some were calling for Williams' departure from the time-honored house. Pharrell served us with his usual eccentric reasoning, saying, "I know it's men's artistic direction that I do, but I make clothes for humans." Yes, Pharrell, we know. But guess what? Men were actually asking, but who is gonna wear it? Unless the market isn't actually men, but dressing up and providing a costume to the rich and famous. Meaning that so-called ready-to-wear fashion, especially in the men's space, is becoming increasingly performative. A far cry from the realm of the practical and lifestyle-connected styles where men's fashion has always grown. That's not to say men's fashion is stagnant. Quite the contrary. Men's fashion has always been about going deeper into the culture of the garments they choose. And there is no better example of this than in the denim community, where nuance, detail, and make are of the utmost importance. You have dudes literally showing you how to clean things. Men have traditionally been incredibly serious about what they choose to be a part of and will buy investment into brands and labels that share their values. But in an effort to draw men away from this traditional view of fashion, the industry's agenda was to have men abandon these ideals and instead hop, skip, and jump towards any and every style without a regard to the nuance, make, and details that have grown men's fashion over the better part of forever. And the only way to assuage men to do this was to have the people that men respected hop around in often silly styles that those same individuals would move on from in less than a week. We literally had a whole generation of content creators dedicated to the how to dress like insert celebrity name here trend that has thankfully fell from grace. But while the industry does seem hell-bent on destroying traditional men's fashion, men are wising up. While yes, men's fashion is more dynamic than ever, more men are enjoying the slick, minimal world of Xenia and Boss. A return to high quality design and lifestyle has led to the exponential growth of brands like ALD, Noah, and even Japanese labels like Human Made. Denim is finally back on the table and on a come up in a major way. And while many content creators do a ton of derivative designs, the younger generation is far more interested in supporting those brands than these mainstream brands that swing and miss constantly. Because despite social changes in the dynamic of men's fashion via social media, on the ground, men's fashion is most comfortable dabbling in restructuring the classics. And it seems the industry has kind of gotten the message, but again, they are late to the party per usual, coining new fashion movements that seem more pejorative than celebratory. Hey everyone, next up is quiet outdoor. It's the new style that you should like. It's like quiet luxury, but less contrived.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Again, this brings us all the way back to the post-Virgil problem. He understood that men appreciated what they were getting into. He saw how men embraced this kind of education of styles and story that traces some of its origins to the days when Jordan sneakers were about bona fide stories. It's something the industry still hasn't had time to adapt to, and instead decided to create what they thought men should wear. And most gentlemen out there are just not having it.
We will not have it. I said we will not have it, oh.
Look, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I'm a dude that loves Yohji Yamamoto and Yohji adjacent styling and brands and collections. I love a lot of the work by Japanese designers and brands that include Chitose Abe, Tatsuro Horikawa, Shinya Kozuka, Soshio-tsuki, Jun Takahashi, Kazuyuki Kumagai, among others. And while there are men that don't know these brands worth a sack of nickels, there are a contingent of men who do and follow these labels strongly and passionately. More succinctly, they're a community. These segmented groups and followings have been largely left untapped because they seem like they won't invoke mainstream appeal. So I would say that the industry has by and large tried its hardest to diminish men's confidence in traditional thinking. It hasn't been about trying something new. It was about perpetuating the vapid response to styling, the does it look cool? Will people like me when I wear it? And the is this popular narrative that has destroyed discovery, brand exploration, and conversation, which ultimately hurts the industry. I mean, it's kind of a travesty and essentially erodes the one thing those involved in men's fashion have always cherished the most: character and culture. Men's style is tribal by nature, validating these underreported brands' collections, or better yet, the communities that a great many men have had to search on their own for years, would have done wonders for the industry. But instead, the business pretended that men would continue to follow costume-wearing characters forever, which is frankly insulting. Case in point, 10 years ago, if you asked an 18 to 25-year-old male to rock with New Balance for style purposes, they would likely laugh in your face. But when Nike kept barring traditional fans from buying its most coveted drops and collaborations, men, particularly, naturally gravitated towards a brand that was far more reliable and less competitive, like New Balance. And brands like Noah, Jown, and ALD took up the mantle, did collaborations with New Balance, and validated those communities. And it proves that when there are a wealth of options outside of the industry framework, it can be instrumental in changing minds and opinions. And you don't need celebrities for that. And that, my friends, is the state. But the discussion isn't over. Let us know your thoughts on the state of men's fashion in the comments. What did you like? What did you not like? Or is there another topic that you'd like for us to discuss? Just drop it in the comments below. At the very least, give us a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. But most importantly, keep it locked right here for all of your info on international fashion culture and business from Tokyo. It's your boy, and keep it casual. Yoroshiku onegai shimasu. And I'll see you guys in a minute.